My name is Captain Lossless, and welcome back to Sunday Morning Get Up. One thing that has been on my mind this past week is self-dedication. And what does self-dedication really means? Self-dedication boils down to asking yourself, am I worth it? Am I worth going through the journey? Am I worth going through the upsets, the setbacks, the trials and tribulations? And the short answer is yeah. But getting ourselves to realize that that's a journey within itself. When it comes to self-dedication, it becomes a journey of putting yourself first. And sometimes putting yourself first seems taboo. We've been taught to give our all to other people, give our last to other people. But if you give your last to somebody else, then that means that you are left with nothing. And when we talking in terms of your energy, when we talking in terms of all that you are, if you're giving that to somebody else, you're not really being dedicated to yourself. And it may work, it may feel okay in a short span of time, but at some point, your cup is empty. And you start to feel that. And I know you've probably heard the analogy before that if you're on a plane and the oxygen mask come down, you're supposed to put your oxygen mask on first and then assist everybody else. Well, that analogy works true in your life. You have to put yourself first. And let me clarify that. Because there's two ways to go about that. Some people like to put themselves first at the expense of tearing other people down. There's another analogy that goes with that. And it's like there's two ways to have the tallest building on the block. The first way is if you destroy everybody else's building, so yours is the tallest one left standing. Or you can decide to build the tallest building. And that's the second option of being dedicated to self. It's you're going about it putting yourself first, but not at the expense of tearing others down. Now, this also gets a little bit more confusing because when you are being dedicated to yourself, other people may choose to get hurt by you being dedicated to yourself. Because especially if you've spent a long time giving your all to other people without giving it to yourself, once you decide to change that and start giving to yourself, it's a change that the people around you have to go through also. So now you're not doing all the extra things that you were doing because now you are starting to value yourself. And what comes with that is sometimes those people will make you feel like that's a bad thing. Society will make you feel like that's a bad thing. But it's not. When it comes to happiness, only you can make yourself happy. And happiness is the reason we are here on earth. We want to enjoy this experience. And if you are giving your all and not being dedicated to self, giving your all and helping others can provide a certain type of happiness. But what happens when no one else is around and you're by yourself? Where's that happiness at then? So what it means to be dedicated to yourself is that it may push people away, but that's okay. That's why you have to focus on your own happiness. No one can make you happy, and you can't make anybody else happy. And when I'm saying happy, I'm talking about a true sense of self-happiness. A self-happiness that comes from knowing your own worth. Knowing your own worth because you are dedicated to growing your own worth. You are dedicated to becoming a better version of yourself, not for anybody else, but for yourself. For example, dedication. It is currently 12:31 a.m. and I'm sitting here recording this podcast because I'm doing this for myself. I love to share knowledge and share insight. And although people may benefit from this, I'm doing it purely for me. And when you are dedicated to yourself, some people may not understand it. A lot of people may not understand it. But you have to realize that that is okay. Some things that make you happy, it may not resonate with anybody. It may not resonate with the people that are closest to you. But that's the whole point of you being unique. That's the whole point of you being an individual expression of life. That means that you're going to have these little quirks, these little things about yourself that only you can understand and that only you may love. But just like we would put that value onto other people, it's time to place that value within us. Turn it back around and look at the mirror and say, hey, I'm worthy of liking, I'm worthy of doing, I'm worthy of being simply who I want to be. And I'm worth the dedication to find that person. I'm worth the setbacks, the failures. And when it comes to life, we all have those ups and downs. So any journey that we embark on, we're going to have failures. And personally, in earlier versions of myself, I would face those failures and run from them. I would look at those as opportunities to say that, okay, this wasn't meant for me. I'm not worthy of having this, which is the completely wrong mindset. Because if you think about it, let's say you're embarking on a journey. At the end of that journey, that is where your new perspective, that is where that new you lives. Having have gone through the journey, having have gone through those trials and tribulations and those failures. But you have to realize that that is what you have to go through in order to find your self-worth and your value. And the process of doing that is self-dedication. Some things that you do out in this world, some things that you want to do it purely for you. Do it just 'cause. One of the most powerful things that I've realized about myself, and I want you to realize this about yourself too, is that get to a point where some of the things you do don't have to have a reason. And your only reason is just because I want to. Now think about how powerful it is to do something simply because you want to. I've always been led to believe that you have to have a reason to do things, a legit reason. And what I was led to believe was that My only legit reasons was if it was validated by someone outside of me. Somebody else had to deem this worthy in order for me to feel like this was something I could or should do. But you have to break those mental beliefs and fight hard to break those mental beliefs. Because when you believe things like that, when you believe that the only way you can be is by being in service or validated by other people, that will always keep you away from your own personal happiness. Now, the quote is, control the things that you can control and do not worry about the things that you cannot control. So if we look at that from a sociological perspective of interacting with other humans and interacting in the world, we cannot control nothing outside of ourselves. As much as we have been led to believe that we can control people, ultimately, people can, and do make their own decisions. So the only person that you can control is yourself. And if you are reacting to somebody else's situations or somebody else's decisions that they have made, then it's up to you to control your perspective of it. And that's another part of your self-dedication. Be dedicated to self first. You have to fill your own cup before it can overflow and you can give that to other people. But I feel like we are a very long way in society from being self-dedicated and self-fulfilled. Which brings me to my next point. Self-dedication is the journey to finding your self-worth. So in the midst of your struggles, in the midst of your failures, in the midst of facing those anxieties that would otherwise have you not going forward, ask yourself, am I worth it? And before you have all the excuses in the world that tells you that you are not worth it, 100% believe that you are worth it no matter what your mind is telling you, no matter what other people are telling you, no matter what your environment is telling you, no matter what your past has told you, no matter what you think about the future is telling you, you have to know that you're worth it. Even if you can't see a future where you are worth it. Let's say I'm running all the possibilities in my mind. And even though I'm asking myself, am I worth it? I still don't feel like I am. But just know, like at the end of every journey that you have been through and that you will go through, if you are being intentional and overcoming that, then you will see that you are worth it. So if you can see that you are worth it, or even if you can't see that you are worth it, just know that there is a timeline out there where you are. When I was in college for music development, I ended up being able to take a trip to LA, and I met with one of Lady Gaga's tour manager. And we sat there and we chopped it up for a long time. And he told me, he was like, when it comes to managing artists don't look for the squeaky clean manager. They look for managers who have been through all types of shit, who have been fucked over time after time after time again and still there. Because The manager who has went through everything understands everything. He knows how to overcome, or she knows how to overcome all of the situations that they may face versus someone who hasn't. Now, you take that right there and you look at that manager. At the beginning of his journey, facing those journeys, he probably didn't think that they were worth it. They probably thought like, oh my God, I'm not cut out for this. But they stuck in there. They were self-dedicated. And upon being self-dedicated, they were able to overcome. And at the end of their journey, they are starting to see their worth. And not only they are starting to see their worth, the artists are starting to see their worth. The artists are starting to see them as highly valuable. And highly valuable because they went through the journey. They went through the struggle. They went through the trials and tribulations and overcame it. So that is a reason why there's no reason to run. Face it. And you can go and find countless amounts of testimonies and stories of people who have been through the ringer and overcame. And every single one of them, you see that they are highly valuable in the eyes of society and also in the eyes of themselves. All these things in life, you can either take it one or two ways. You can look at it and say, I'm not cut out for this. Why is life happening to me? Or you can take that same situation and say, this must be a catalyst for my growth. This must be an opportunity for me to express my self-worth. This must be a journey for me to develop and grow my self-worth. I can be dedicated to this. I can be dedicated to myself. Because being dedicated to yourself is the only way to be. People in your life will come and go. But you will always be with yourself. The way that I like to look at it is, no matter what, if it's this life, a past life, or a future life, I will always be behind these eyes. So if I'm always behind these eyes and I'm always going to be with myself, before I go to bed, no matter who I'm around, who's in the house, when I go to bed, I'm with myself. When I wake up in the morning, I'm with myself. So what that means is that you should be dedicated to yourself first. You should be invested in making your life your life. And self-dedication is a process of working inside outward. And let me explain that, because in my life, I used to want to be a person that everybody liked. So I got really great at becoming a people pleaser, becoming a person that knew how to hit the right buttons on everybody so they could like me. But in turn of doing that, after so many years, I was void inside. I was empty inside. I didn't know who I was outside of making people happy. And it turned me into a shell of myself, to the point where I didn't know who I was. I didn't even understand anything about myself because everything that I made about myself was about other people. But learning self-dedication, that I started to place value within myself. It was a deconstruction process, a process of now having people look at me in a negative light opposed to how they used to look at me as, oh, that's the guy that everybody likes. But that's the war that you have to wage is, hey, I have to be myself, even if it makes nobody around me like me anymore. And this is why I say start working inside out, because once you start being dedicated to yourself, yes, people are undoubtedly going to leave your life. But there will be people that come into your life that resonates with you. And there will also be people that stick with you through your entire journey, through the times where you are a people pleaser and through the times where you are dedicating your energy to yourself. And if you start working from that place, you start working from the inside out, now you have self-fulfillment, self-worth, and self-dedication. And you also have the people around you who still continue to love you and who loves the person that you have become. Thank you for coming and stopping in for Sunday Morning Get Up. Again, my name is Captain Lossless, and I run the Eye of Overview Academy. This is a mindset to see your life from the highest perspective, a perspective that allows you to overcome life. If you would like a free session, don't hesitate. Head over to the Eye of Overview and book a free session. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.